258, number 15 says, Elaine and Abraham have homes in Florida and Ohio. They realized that they could save $1,154.13 in sales tax on their new luxury automobile if they purchase it in their Florida community, where the sales tax is a rate of 4.75, rather than the Ohio community, where the sales tax rate is 7.5. Apparently, book was made in that 6 or 8 months there where Ohio jacked up their sales tax, because it's not that now. The auto's total selling price is the same in Florida and in Ohio. What is the total purchase price of their automobile if they purchase it in Florida? So what's the total purchase price of the automobile if they purchase it in Florida? So they tell us that they can save 1,000, somebody help me out so I don't have to keep trying to look back at this number. 1,100 and what? $54.13. That's how much they're going to save if they buy it in Florida instead of Ohio. So if they buy it in Florida instead of Ohio, they're going to save that amount. Normally, we would take the sale price, or the cost, whatever. Let's just write cost because it's easier. Cost times the sales tax rate, and that's going to give us how much tax they're going to pay. Then we would take that cost and we would add the tax, and that would give us the total cost. So those are the two formulas that we need to use. This time, though, they don't tell us the cost. So we're working backwards. We're going in reverse of what we have here. We're going to start off, we know the tax. Well, actually, we don't know the tax, do we? We know part of the tax. What they tell us about the tax in Florida. What was it? 4.75. What's the tax in Ohio? 7.5. So what we can do with those two is we can subtract those two. Somebody help me out, subtract those. 2.75. That's the rate that they're saving. All right? They're not paying that extra 2.75%. That's where this number comes in. So what we have is we have this 2.75. That's the tax rate, which we're going to have changed to a decimal here in a second, times the cost. And that should equal, because we're working backwards here, that should equal this $1,154.13. What do we got to do to this again? I just told you a second ago. Change it to what? How many places do I move it over? 2, so what's it become? 275 times, I'm just going to put C for that so I don't have to keep writing cost. Should equal that. How do I figure out the cost? Divide both sides by that, so 0.0275. What should happen to a number when you're divided by a number like 0.0275? It should get bigger, right?
That is 41,968.36.
41,968.36. So what's the cost of the automobile? That right there. All right. Now they said they wanted the total cost. How are we going to find the total cost? Where are they going to buy the car at again? They're going to buy it in Florida. So do we want to take the 0.0275? Is that our tax rate? No, we got to go back and take Florida's tax rate. What
Do you
was?
have to move the decimal, or did you
we have to,
Remember 2 places.
and what's that give you?
Times.
So we're gonna take this times 0.0475. This is the part that kills me, and I'm gonna explain here in a second.
993.4.
1,993.49. Is that our answer?
No. You
That's how
said-
much tax they pay. And the part that I was talking about that kills me is as long as I've been teaching math, people get to that point and it says, what's the cost of the car? And they say, oh, $1,993.
No, that's not right.
That's not right. We're buying this brand new car. You're not gonna find one for $1,993. All right? What do we do with this
You
1993.49?
times it by some-
Add it.
Oh, yeah.
Add it back to this, right? Then that's gonna give us the total cost. So you add those two together, what's that give us?
43,961.85.
So how much is the car gonna cost them if they buy it in Florida? $43,961.85. Could we figure out how much it's gonna cost them in Ohio if we wanted? As a matter of fact, let's do that. We got this number. I'm gonna write this number down so I can erase some of this. $43,961.85. That's the cost in Florida. I'm gonna write this number down here so I don't forget it. We ought to write this number down too, because that's the cost of the car, so we don't have to figure it out again. $41,968.36. Tax in Ohio is 7.5, that's what it said, right? So we take that 7.5, we're gonna change it to 0.075, times it by the $41,968.36. What's that give us? Huh?
That's a lot of work, like bending down
Remember what I said about you seniors? No sympathy. $2,147.63. So that's the tax they would pay if they're in Ohio. We're gonna add these two together to get the total, so somebody add those two together for me. .99.
Yep.
So that's what it would cost them in Ohio. That car is gonna cost them that much in Ohio. We said in Florida, it would cost them that much. How could we check to make sure that we did everything right? What'd they tell us originally about those two costs?
They're not that different.
All right, but the total cost, what'd they say about it? So this price was the same.
Maybe different.
It should be different, but give me a little more.
You can subtract it from that, figure out how much they paid in taxes.
All right, so let's subtract those two.
Or yeah, figure out the difference. Oh, well, that's different.
$1,154.14.
Now, what they told us is how much more were they gonna pay in Ohio?
It's just 1 cent off, but it can around.
Same thing, right? So did we do it right?
Yep.
Yeah, we should. Other questions? The answer then was that answer right there, but going a little farther, make sure we did it right. Does that actually happen? Is that stuff that is true?
I just feel like things would be cheap or more expensive in Florida.
It's not, things might be more expensive, but the sales tax
True.
might be less. And again, when we talked about Florida last time, might be certain places in Florida where the sales tax is actually what? Higher. Where would you think that the sales tax might be higher?
Like Miami.
Miami maybe? I would probably think that it's higher in places like Kissimmee, Orlando, because it's right there around Disney World. And so they have a lot of tourists that are buying things. Well, they want to collect that sales tax off of that. Because when you go down there and you go to buy a hat, and the hat's $10, and you end up paying $12 for it because the sales tax is so high. If you're on vacation, do you really pay any attention to that? Not really. All right?
I think the sales tax would be lower since they have more business, so.
That's not the way it
Like, a lot
works.
more people.
The sales tax is going to be higher so that the people who actually live there have to pay less what? State tax and tax on gas and property tax and all that stuff. They keep those taxes down, raise the taxes on the people who are just coming in for a little while, so that makes it easier on the people who actually live there.
That makes a lot more money.
Where's another place in the country you think it'd probably be that way?
California.
Maybe California at some of their places. There's one place one city I'm thinking of that I'm most definitely sure it's the same as that. Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
Las Vegas, it's most definitely, you go and a lot of their stuff is really, really taxes and stuff. They try to get the people who are coming in. Now, they also try to get you to come there. So some of the things, like one thing, anybody think of something that's a whole lot cheaper in Las Vegas than it is anywhere else in the country?
Yes.
They don't want you driving, they want you walking.
Alcohol.
Hotels are a whole lot cheaper. So if you go over to Richmond and you rent a hotel or you rent a room at that hotel right across the state line there, it's probably gonna cost you anywhere from $90 to $150, somewhere around that range. If you go to Las Vegas and you rent that same room, it might cost you $45 to $70. Alright, we went to Las Vegas at one point, and I think our room there was I think there was 4 of us, I think, which of my sons were born at that point. There was 4 of us staying in the room, and the room cost us $52
Like for all the nights, it's one night.
per one night.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah, it's really, really cheap. We stayed there for a week. Now, we go places with my son's baseball teams.
It's like 200.
Right, we're paying, if there's 4 of us, we're paying $200 and some per night.
I'm guessing that like $52 rate is not a bad rate either, was it?
No, it was a nice room. Now, the hotel's not there any longer. They tore it down here about 2 years ago, but it was a nice enough room. It's just, they make deals for you, and they'll,
As long as they get so much service, it doesn't really matter what they sell.
so
Especially if we're going there and they're buying like sweets.
stuff like this, they'll rent you your room cheap. You can get a rental car real cheap. Flights to and from Vegas are real cheap, because the whole purpose of Las Vegas is to get you to what? Get there. Because once you get there, then they're going to take your money.
And they have casinos or whatever. So you're spending a lot of your money there.
That's what they think. Hey, we get them here, even though we're losing $100 on this room per night.
You're making $500.
That $100 is going to set that guy down at one of our tables And is he gonna stop when he loses that 100? No, he's probably gonna keep going because he thinks that he can win it back.
And what's he's gonna win, he's gonna keep playing, he wins, and he's gonna lose all of it.
He's gonna lose more than.
Yeah. He's gonna get drunk, he's gonna go all over it.
Yep. Now,
Happens to the best.
they dislike people like me because I sat down at the table when we were there, sat down at the table, and the tables, they have different tables with different limits on it. And I sat down at a table and it had, you could bet $1 up to like $200 or something. I don't remember. Well, guess what I was putting down? $1. I'm putting down
playing the slot.
We play blackjack or something?
Yeah, and my brothers are going, "You wimp, what's wrong with you? You gotta put down more than that." Well, not me. I'm not losing money. And so once we went that far, then they try to keep you in the casino. So they bring you free drinks and whatever you ask for. So I ask them for a Coke, a Pepsi, whatever. They bring it back, and they want tips. Well, after I don't tip them for a while, or I give them like $1 tip, well, guess they can stop coming around. They don't come to our table anymore, which didn't bother me at all because. But a lot of the stuff, I mean, if you go to Vegas, you'll hear about like all you can eat shrimp, all you can eat steak. They have all these things, and it's like $10 or something real cheap, and they are there. But the whole purpose is their restaurant where all you can eat shrimp is right in the casino. So to go into the restaurant, you got to go through the casino, and they're hoping. Right, they're hoping as you go through there that you stop and you lose some money at the tables or at the slots or whatever else.
I'm gonna pay some 3 letters. I'm up there like,
Me and my grandpa play blackjack, man. I never won.
Part of the casinos that they put in around here now, like the ones that are down on the river. What is the name of that town down there? Yeah, but
There's one on a boat, I know.
the ones down there along the river, they're starting to go under now because nobody wants to, you're going down there, you gotta have, they were good at first because they were new, but now a lot of people in the area aren't gonna make a trip just to go to that boat.
Yeah. There's like a lot of Hollywood casinos popping up around here.
See, and that helps a little bit because that's more like a McDonald's where it's, some corporation in there. So even though they might be not making as much money here, they're making more over here somewhere, and it sort of evens out. So McDonald's in Eaton probably doesn't make as much money as a McDonald's, in Dayton or some, one of these other places. They're not near as busy. But it sort of evens out. Now McDonald's is a bad example because McDonald's in Eaton is owned by a personal guy and not, I don't know who it's owned by now, but
heard the one on the Chester Boulevard in Richmond has like roots.
That's disgusting.
so it probably doesn't make as much money as some of the others.
But it's like convenient because it's in a gas station.
I know.
It's right in front of college too, so you know when kids get out.
Yeah.
Then you got Wendy's right there, and you're like, and you got Taco Bell down there, and you're
Subway's
like,
right there, too.
but then you go like, well, if I'm gonna go to Taco Bell, I might as well just go downtown and get something good.
All right, on this, what we're going to talk about today, unit prices and determining, figuring out what's the best buy. It's probably been 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, the federal government, unlike Mr. Eversole, they cared about Dakota and they said, oh, well, we got to take care of Dakota because he can't take care of himself, so we have to take care of him. And now if you go into Walmart, you go into Kroger's, you go into Myers, you go into whatever kind of store it is, you look on the shelves, you got your shelf here, And along that edge of that shelf, here's your cans of whatever kind of food it is right there. You know, you got your cans. And along that, right there on that shelf, they have a little tag. And what's that little tag tell you?
How much it is.
That tells you the price. Now, not only does it tell you the price,
Oh, wait.
that used to be all it told you. It said, you know, price $2.59, whatever it is. Now the federal government stepped in about 15 years ago or so because the American people couldn't take care of themselves and figure stuff out for themselves. Now on that tag, you don't just have the price anymore. What else is on there?
And the name of the product or something.
Yeah, maybe.
And then they never know, I don't know what it is.
And that other number that he's talking about, we'll say something like that. That's the unit price. They put on all the tags what the unit price is. So if you're looking at this big long shelf and you got these cans here and then the next thing is a bigger can of the same thing, tells you what the unit price is on each one. So you know if this is a better buy or if this is a better buy. All right. Now along with that, what you got to be able to figure out is just because something's a better buy, does that mean that's what you want to get?
No.
No. Do you want to go to Costco or one of these Sam's or whatever and buy this big tub of peanut butter that will serve 6 million people? Probably not unless you have some kind of restaurant, all right, where you're going to use it all. Huh?
Or you could feed like all that.
So, you got to be able to decide which of these is a better buy.
The same.
I'll tell you this, I know one thing, that if you go into a store and you look at laundry detergent, this is one of them that I think caused the federal government to step in and make companies start putting a unit price on each thing. If you go in and you look at laundry detergent, you go in Walmart or wherever and you look at the laundry detergent, which most of you probably don't do that because your folks probably buy the laundry detergent, right? But if you go in there and you look at the laundry detergent, you'll have a little 12-ounce box. And that 12-ounce box will be something like $6, $6.29 or something. And then you'll look at a bigger box, and it'll be something like $23 or something. And everybody always thinks, oh, well, I got to be getting a better deal if it's the bigger box. You look at the laundry detergent, it doesn't work that way. It might be a little closer now, but when I was, before they changed all this, when I was first out on my own, that was one of the things I noticed is that it doesn't work. Laundry detergent, just because you bought something bigger and it was more of it, it wasn't cheaper to buy the bigger stuff. It was actually cheaper to buy the smaller packs and buy 3 or 4 of them, and you get more for the same price as in the big ones. It might be a little different now because they have to put the unit prices on there. So a unit price, we're going to learn how to figure out a unit price. Not real difficult. Be able to compare those and see which is the best buy. To find the unit price, this is our formula to find the unit price. To find the unit price, all you're going to do is take the price of the item and divide by the measure or the count. Measure or count's usually going to be like ounces or pounds maybe. A lot of things don't go by ounces or pounds, so when they put the unit price on it, it might be per whatever the item is. All right, so there might be, per cracker or whatever it is.
Like 12-pack, like cans of pop. Like,
yeah. So on something like that, they probably, I've never paid any attention to the unit price, but it probably says, per can or something like that. So that's a unit price. But if you look at those stickers, you can start to see this stuff. This is something as you get out on your own, you're gonna have to figure out, hey, is this a better buy? Which one do I wanna spend the money on? Is it, a lot of times just comparing things, let's say, you got the generic brand. My wife is asking me continually whenever we go shopping, she always asks me to figure this stuff up in my head. But when you got the generic and you got a name brand, well, even though they say, oh, the generic, that's exactly the same as the name brand, it's not always exactly the same. If you go to Aldi's, we go to Aldi's all the time, and you buy some of Aldi's fruits or vegetables, a lot of times they're not quite as good as some other stores, all right? But if you're looking at the generic and the name brand, and the generic is 1.2 cents per ounce, and the name brand is 1.5 cents per ounce. Well, a lot of times it doesn't make sense to spend, just because this 1.2 is a better price, it doesn't make sense to spend that less money. One of the good examples is toilet paper. Buying cheap toilet paper sometimes, really not the greatest thing, because a lot of times you'll waste more of it and it ends up just costing you more. All right, so if you buy real cheap toilet paper, like the toilet paper that I buy to put up here for people to blow their nose on, because we have people like our friend that's not here today that comes up and every 10 seconds and pulls off 2 sheets and does this and then walks over to the trash can and throws it away, and then 2 minutes later he's up there doing the same thing. You guys don't have a clue who I'm talking about here, right? I want to ask you sometimes, you been snorting coke or something? What's wrong with your nose that you got to keep messing with it? Now you're laughing too much. Am I on track here or something? So unit price of an item divided by measure or count. Comparison shopping. Comparison shopping is just when you're comparing prices to find the best value. So you're going to comparison shop to try to get yourself the best value for your money. You want to get the most for your money. Now again, we could go back to cars. If we're going out to buy a car, just because we buy a Yugo and it's the cheapest, does that mean it's the best for us? No, because if we pay $5,000 for a Yugo today and it only lasts 3 years, and then we got to pay another $5,000 and it only lasts 3 years, so on and so on. At some point, you got to use your brain a little bit and say, okay, this one here is not as expensive, but this one's a little better quality. And you got to decide what's the most important thing there. Usually when my family goes out and we buy me a car, we're usually looking for something that's cheap and something that we know that I'm going to have for 3 or 4 years and I'm going to have to get rid of, because it's not going to be any good after that. So I think the most that I've ever paid for a car that I drove, not any car, because I've paid bunches of money for cars that other people in my family drive. I think the most I've ever paid for a car, I think, is $1,900. And I think that's been like about my last 3 cars I paid right around $1,900
Why don't
for.
you just buy a really nice car that'll last you forever?
I do buy nice cars, but what happens to them? The other people drive. So when we're out buying a car,
Take the keys.
so when we're out buying a car, like last time we went out, or actually 2 times ago, we went out and we bought a car for, what did we buy? decent deal on the van, and we told them if they dropped the van down another $1,000, that we would buy the little Ford Escort station wagon that they had sitting there too. That was about $1,900. I think it was actually like $1,500. And then the next time we went, we bought a car for my wife, and we bought the Aveo that I'm driving now, and I think I paid like 18 or 1900 for it. So you just got to decide when you're comparison shopping, and Sydney's right, you know, why don't you just buy a nice car? Well, we don't buy a nice car for me because we got to think about other things other than just the cost of the car. If we buy a nice car and we have to make a payment on it, then what else do you have to have on that car?
Insurance.
You got to have full coverage insurance. So you got to have full coverage insurance, which is going to be quite a bit more than the insurance on my little junk Aveo. All right. So when we're looking at that, we want a car that we can pay cash for me, so that we don't have to carry that any kind of full coverage insurance on it. All we have to carry is the liability insurance.
So you paid cash for your van too?
No, we paid cash for that, and then we have a loan on the van, the new van. Vince Tucker purchased 25 boxes of paper. Have your calculators out so you can help me do this. For $281.58. Each box contained 10 reams. Does anybody know what a ream of paper is?
Stack of paper.
It's just a stack. It's usually like 500, I think. What is the unit price per ream rounded to the nearest tenth of a cent? So what are we going to do with these numbers?
Divide.
So 281.58
Divided by 25.
divide by 25 or 10. Which one?
25. 10.
If we're going,
I don't know. 25.
if we're going per ream, we need to figure out how many reams we have, don't we?
10. Each box. So you want to times 10 by 25.
10 times 25 is what?
250.
So we're actually going to divide by 250.
Sure it's not that. 1.126.
So now this is supposed to be money, but a lot of times, again on the stickers, if you go to Walmart or Kroger or wherever and you look at it, they'll actually go out a little farther than just the cents place. So they might go out a extra place or two on their little stickers. So it's going to be about it's going to be about $1.13. This told us to round it off to, no, it said round it off to the nearest tenth of a cent. So it did want us to go out one extra place. So each ream of paper is going to cost about $1.126. If we figure that out, then we could compare it to other places that sell paper to get a better price. Michelle Stahl needs to buy food for her dog. She can purchase a 10-pound bag for $14.58, a 25-pound bag for $19.50, a 50-pound bag for $28.99. Which is the better buy? Before we even start to do any math, anybody have a guess which bag? 10, 25, or 50? Which one do you think is the better buy? 25, Dakota said. So we got Dakota and Andrew say the 25. Anybody else have a guess?
25.
25?
Yeah, sure.
You going with that one?
That's right.
So now we need to figure out, how can we figure out which one's the best buy? Let's do the 10 pound first. What would you do to figure out the 10 pound?
Take 10 divided by the price, which is 14.
Backwards, but yeah. If you're dividing by 10 too, let's do this to make it easier on ourselves so we don't have to grab our calculator. We're gonna take this and we're gonna divide by 10, what's that doing?
Moves the decimal one place.
$1.40.
So $4.58, we'll leave it out, that one extra place. That's per pound, right? So it's about that much per pound.
1950 divided by 25 is 78 cents.
So this one for the 25-pound bag
Mhm.
is what? 78 cents
Yeah.
per pound?
And then, the last one's 57 cents.
I thought it was that one. I wasn't sure.
So the last one's 57 cents a pound?
That was my first guess and then I changed it.
Now, the 50-pound bag this time is a lot cheaper, isn't it? It's a whole lot cheaper. It's more than 30 cents cheaper than 25-pound bag per pound. But my dog at home is a pug. Do I really want to buy a 50-pound bag of dog food?
You have to feed it
Right. Probably the bad thing with that is by the time I get through that whole 50-pound with that little pug, is the food ain't good anymore.
What
No.
does dog food last for?
I don't know. I'd have to look on it and see. But it doesn't. It's not going to last that long. It's going to, and you probably don't want to be, especially my dog is fairly old. I probably don't want to be feeding the old nasty dog food to her because number one, she has all kinds of problems anyway. That's sure not going to help her. All right. So you got to make that decision. Is it worth it just to be cheaper, or is it going to cost me more in vet bills because she's going to eat this dog food after she gets so hungry and then ain't going to be able to digest it because it's not any good anymore? All right, that's your assignment, page 260 and page 264.